What's up, Fumble fam? I'm Brooke.
And I'm Noelle, and you're listening to Girls Don't Fumble, the #1 sports podcast for NFL Girl Talk.
We sift through all the football news so you don't have to.
Let's get into it.
So we are having another Friday recording, which means the vibes are high, the wine is flowing, the personalities are coming out. The music is playing. We're at the club.
We are. That's the mentality that we're channeling today, because we're actually going to be filming 2 episodes today. So we're bringing the vibes.
It's a double header.
Yeah.
In Girls Don't Fumble vibes. And what comes to mind is Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso.
That's
I'm working late
because I'm a podcaster.
Because I'm recording. That's literally us right now.
Yeah, that is. And we're just girls in corporate that are trying to, chase our dreams and uphold both of them at the same time. It's hard, especially when we have such busy schedules. No. We are booked and busy. May is tough. May is tough.
Both of us are born in May. God bless that happening.
Yeah.
Imagine having such a busy schedule with 2 jobs when we're supposed to just be homemakers, but we'll get into it at a later date.
You'll see.
But this is a very, very exciting week for football fans. I think this is the week that we really start counting down to when the games actually begin and the NFL is within our sights. So this is the week that the schedules are released for all the teams. Woo! It's a really, yeah. Addison Rae scream. It's such a fun week because, football, I feel like we have the short end of the stick where there's a lot of sports, it's basketball, baseball, soccer, where there's so many more games. The seasons are much longer. NFL is really just a 5-month period. There's 17 games, 18 games.
Yeah.
IDK, LOL. And we just have to hold out all year for when September starts for us to actually be able to come alive and cheer on our teams. So this week, when the schedule is released, we know who we're playing. We know when we're playing them. We know where it is, what team, what stadium it's going to be at. It is so exciting.
It's very exciting. A lot of people call this the NFL Christmas Day because it is truly a gift for all NFL fans out there. And what makes it really exciting is earlier in the year, we do know what opponents each team is playing. So we have that context. But in terms of when in the season they're playing, what times they're playing, what days they're playing, how often they're playing certain people or different teams, that all is a really important factor in whether they're home or away. Like these are the details that we care about, because even for you get to go to Chargers games and get to go to games with your dad, in the flesh and
in the
flesh, IRL. And unfortunately, as a Bengals fan, I can't do that. I don't have the luxury every week, but you get to plan your schedule a little bit further in advance in the fall, and that makes it even more exciting. And the thing that the NFL really does very well is follow those storylines from either the previous year or from the draft and from free agency, which we've been touching on a lot on this podcast. So I think the storylines and yes, it is sports, but it's entertainment at the end of the day. That's what really is the most exciting part of it all.
No, the NFL absolutely kills it because they know their goal is to be entertainers. They know that their ultimate just KPI of the draft is to get the best games in the best time slots at the best times of the season. So we're talking, again, the rivalries, the rematches from last year. Are these games going to happen on Christmas Day? Are they going to happen on Thanksgiving? Are they going to be during prime time? What point in the season are they happening? And we're thinking about, our team's going to be healthy. If you're placing a big quarterback matchup in week 12, are they still going to be quarterbacking at the time of the year?
Yeah.
So there's so many things that go into effect. And when the schedule comes out, I think it's really exciting for fans because it's okay, what team or what games am I going to? Am I going to travel? Is my team maybe playing internationally? That could be cute. Maybe we go to international games. And it's also a big time for the social media teams of each of these like NFL teams to really show what they've got, what they've been working on in the off season, and release the schedule in the most funny way possible. We'll get to that at the end of the episode, but it's really, especially in more recent years, it's become such an event, this NFL schedule release, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, and they've literally had countdowns about this on all of the news outlets. Like, they've hyped this up so much, and rightfully so. Like, again, if you're a big sports fan, especially a football fan, like, we've all been waiting for this moment. So we bring all of these kind of like insights and behind the scenes of what comes into the schedule to you guys, so you know exactly like what's going on. And it gives you a little bit of some conversation to bring up with your boyfriends. Like, oh, did you know who's playing the Commanders on week 11? I'm just making that up, but
babe, who you got for the season opener?
Yeah,
Of XYZ, whatever your boyfriend's team is.
yeah, exactly. It's a big topic of conversation. So we have lots to share today, and we're excited to get into it because we've definitely been like on our phones, like watching all of the content from all of the social teams for each of the teams, and they've been doing such creative, good jobs of releasing the schedules. Like, it doesn't need to be just like a one little sheet of week by week. Mm-hmm. They've been putting their whole spin on it, so we'll get to that. But
absolutely. So let's talk about how, and this was something that I've never looked into until this year, but how actually complex and methodical it is for the NFL to put together this season of games. And again, trying to make the best matchups, get the rematches from last season that we wish we could see again, make sure that rivals are going head to head on key weekends of the year, putting the best games in prime time, making sure that we see everything we want, like, you know, the Super Bowl rematch from last year, the Harbaugh Bowl that's going to be happening, like making sure that all these games happen and making it make sense for all the rest of the teams. Just there's 32 teams. There's so many different possibilities of how this schedule could land. So I think, yeah, let's talk about the complexity of it and like what goes into it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we take a step back and we look at how the NFL puts together the schedule, there is a very small team. And if you can picture a little room in Manhattan at the NFL office, it's probably 10 by 10. I could be a little bit wrong on that, but it's a really small room. It's probably a team of maybe 3 to 5 people who are putting together this schedule. And think of it like a puzzle that can be solved in multiple ways. Deep. Because you can put together so many different variants of like who's going to be these big matchups. And I know that there are a lot of nuances and complexities to it, but the way, number one, it is a really complex like task, but the way that they do this is with the help of some computer software. I think of this as like, if you're any kind of like data analyst or anyone that puts together a lot of data and reports, think of it as like a query that you run. You know, you have all your fields, not to get into our account manager brains, but you have all these fields of like how often a team is on the road and how many networks need to be fed in a sense of like what teams that they want, who's going to be on prime time. There are a lot of kind of factors that go into this, but thankfully they have a software that kind of helps develop these different variations. And before, this never used to exist. Like, they did it all manually, which is crazy. But if you think about it, with a 17-week schedule in the regular season, there's 272 games that the NFL needs to account for. So that is probably millions, if not billions, of different ways that the schedule can go. So each of the team plays their division opponents. So if I put this into context, the Bengals will play the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns 2 times every year. They also play within like the AFC conference, right? And then there's a few other factors there. Anything else I'm missing? I know that there's some other ones,
They
but
play another complete division in its entirety. So like I know for the Chargers, they're playing the entire Bengals conference in its entirety. They're also playing
the AFC North.
another conference in the NFC. I forget which one, but yeah, they played their division rivals twice throughout the season, one home and one away. And then they also play another division in its completion.
Yeah. And then across in a different conference. So AFC versus NFC, basically.
And that in itself is complicated enough to make that match up and make it all make sense. There's so many other factors that go into it. It's like thinking about who's playing home versus away and making sure that teams don't have too many away games and the season ticket holders get enough home games. And if a team last year had 2 games to start the season on the road, how to make sure that doesn't happen again this year.
Yep.
There's also teams that share stadiums. Like in New York, it's like the Jets and
the Giants.
The Giants who share a stadium.
Yeah.
It's also the Rams and the Chargers in LA.
And
so
if there's concerts at those stadiums
exactly.
too.
Yeah. I think I was listening to a podcast today and they were saying, like week 2 of the NFL, there is a Green Bay concert in what's that? Yeah,
Green Day.
Green Day. I'm in full football mode, not in concert. I was like, that wasn't right.
That's so on brand for you. It's totally fine.
Green Day, so sorry. There's a Green Day concert week 2 of NFL at SoFi Stadium. And so they were talking about it and they were like, okay, so looking at that, obviously the Chargers and the Rams share SoFi Stadium. With this concert happening week 2, we can't have a home game week 2. That means that either the Chargers or the Rams have to have 2 games on the road to start off the season, which is not nice for fans. And I think as much as the season is built around these rivalries, rematches, different broadcasting networks getting really iconic games that will drive the numbers, also built around, players and injuries, not playing too often, not being on the road too much. It's also really around the fans. That is the reason the NFL exists, is the fans that are giving their money and they are taking time out of their day, money out of their paychecks to go to these games. You want to make sure that they're able to go and enjoy the games. Like I think I heard something too of like not giving a team Thanksgiving and Christmas games, which would be crazy because I'm still fighting for, any sort of airtime on Christmas or Thanksgiving or any holidays. But yeah, I also will say for the Chargers Rams, the Chargers did get the season opener at SoFi. So sorry, Rams, you got 2 games on the road. Sorry, boys.
Sorry. I love that.
So yeah, there's so much that goes into it. The concerts is a big piece because most stadiums obviously have other events happening year round. I think one that stands out is like Lambeau that the Packers play at, that they literally just own the whole stadium. They were like, we don't want to deal with any of that. Like we will have as many home games as possible because we don't have anything intervening.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
They get that. And then it's like, thinking about if a team's playing on a Thursday, they can't play on a Sunday, or like if a team's traveling from the East Coast, like you make sure they have time to get their rest. Like it's so much happening beyond just trying to get these really iconic matchups together. Another thing I heard on a podcast today was that the Buccaneers were mad at this year's schedule because they had a couple home games happening in September in Tampa Bay, Florida, and it's apparently like 90 degrees, super humid in Florida.
That's tough.
And they were like, our fans are not going to love this. Like, we'll take it. We're happy with the home games, whatever. But like, why did you schedule 2 of our big games like at home when it's like no one wants to be sweating and dying in the stands?
Yeah. Do you know if they were evening games or like after 5 p.m.? Not that matters that much. But
I think they're fully midday games, but I'm not entirely sure. Just
that's fine.
Praying for those Florida fans.
Honestly, it's hot. Pete and I have been to the Tampa Bay game before when the Bengals were playing the Bucks, and luckily we got to see Tom Brady before he retired. Who knows if that's forever, but
He'll come back a second time.
When you're on the away side, you always kind of have somewhat of a like sun advantage, because I think that the stadiums, they know where the sun is coming from and where it's rising and where it's setting every single night. So obviously, in most cases, I would imagine the away team is on the side of like where the sun is setting. So like I remember before the sun set, like it was directly in your eyes, and it's not fun. It was in December though, so it might have been.
No, it was December, wasn't it?
It was December, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the weather was fine from what I remember, but in September it could be a different story, because like Florida is historically hot, humid. If you're in the middle of like summer or even at the beginning of fall, like, yeah, that's a hot period. And just humidity in general is tough, but
yeah. And if I'm a fan of the Bucks, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not trying to go to a game in direct sunlight during September. Maybe I'll buy my tickets for another day. And I think that's something that the teams do get. Like it's of course it's the teams, but it's also like the marketing and the sales departments of those stadiums that have to think about ticket sales and what makes the most sense. And they're probably like, I think they were the ones who were a little bummed of like, it's going to be a tough time to sell tickets to that game. So there's so many factors. And now more than ever, there's so many different like streaming and broadcast services that are fighting for the biggest primetime games, the biggest matchups. Netflix entered the chat this year and they secured a Christmas Day game. I know Netflix has been dipping their little toesies into live TV. So, I mean, they finally got it figured out after that Love is Blind fiasco where they completely just let all of us down by not showing that reunion live. But that'll be their first time showing an NFL game, which... everyone wants that money.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. I think the NFL got $150 million from Netflix for those Christmas games. And I think the overall like thought behind that is they know how much reach that reach and subscribers Netflix has, not only in the US, but internationally. And I was listening to a podcast and they were saying that, for those games, it's at like a reasonable time internationally. So it's not like at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. for some of those games. So I think that they're doing it right. It does seem like a big focus or goal of the NFL this year is to, increase the revenue, just as any business is. And the way that they're doing that is kind of doubling down on those international markets. And obviously we see some new markets coming into play in this new regular season. But, I think it makes sense. It does make things a little bit more complicated as a consumer because it's like, okay, now I have to have, I think there's 7 networks involved with all of this. Now I have to have 7 different subscriptions. That's kind of a lot.
Did you see that meme with the Panthers? That was like, it's less expensive to go to every Panthers home game than it is to have a subscription to every single one of the streaming services.
Oh.
It's because no one goes to the Panthers games. Tickets are
it was
free.
like, it was sad, but it was like, okay, Panthers, get your season tickets. Like it's time.
Oh, that's really sad.
I know.
Honestly, Bryce Young, I hope you have a great season this year.
He's so cute.
He's a sweetie. Him and CJ Stroud used to play together when they were younger.
Oh my God, hot team alert. Whenever we rank the hot quarterbacks, he can find his way to the top of my list.
Yeah, 100%.
And then another thing too is, of course, all the international games. So we have 5 international games this season. The NFL is America's sport, but again, they're trying to make that money, like you said. So they're like, how can we get more viewers? Let's go international. Yeah. So when you're thinking about the international teams, I feel like we don't see any West Coast teams just because that is like a crazy flight. So it's a lot of East Coast. It's a lot of, mid to East Coast.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting because this is the first time where they have a game in Brazil. So we're opening up a new market. They also have 3 games in England and 1 game also in Germany.
Yeah, that's super exciting for them. And I mean, this isn't the first year that they've done international markets. I think they've been doing it for the past 10, 12 years, if I remember correctly. But there is an appetite overseas for people to be watching American football, and we love to see it. I mean, I'm not going to be up watching them. I wish I was, but that's like 5 a.m.
So what do you think about a bunch of people from Green Bay, Wisconsin in Brazil?
I don't see them making their way out there. I'm seeing it being more the Eagles fans and then maybe some people of Brazil. Do you think
Well, I just think Brazil's interesting. I think it's a cool market, but like you always hear about like crime and theft and things that happen to people that are traveling to Brazil, and I'm just gonna wait and see what happens and what storylines come out of that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
DJ
guess
just
it's more
got,
it's more
abducted.
for building an audience in Brazil than it is for like Green Bay people to take a vacation. But
Yeah, it's not.
but I think a lot of people
but-
from the States will go over to that game.
Yeah. I wonder how much tickets are. Maybe we should go.
Maybe we should go.
Brazil?
Maybe it's Girls Don't Fumble in Brazil.
I would love that. I've never been to.
We've never been. We should go together.
Or maybe even like an easier one could be London, but
I'll go anywhere a plane will take me, but I do think like the Packers Eagles, looking at all the international matchups, is the most exciting and compelling.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not necessarily just the Packers fans, but it's NFL fans who want to see a good game.
Yeah. And if you've seen any of the videos at any of the games internationally, usually it's all just NFL fans who are wearing different jerseys of different teams. It's not even like the Eagles and who are they playing again?
Packers?
The Packers. Yeah. Like it'll be a huge mix. It's going to be NFL fans who are in that market that like want to see a game live in the flesh.
Something I've been seeing funny online is like talking about the Germany game. People are like, the NFL has waged World War III on Germany because it's Giants versus Panthers. It's like, what is that matchup? Not to talk badly about any team.
Yeah.
I root for the Giants. I love the Giants. I don't know how much Daniel Jones is going to be capable of this year, but
Yeah.
people were just saying like, why is that? Who's representing us to Germany?
So I could be very wrong on this. Is there like a volunteer? Like, do they first, like when the NFL says, hey, we have 6 teams lined up this regular season, raise your hand if you volunteer to do one of these games?
I think it is that.
So maybe there was a little bit of a hand raise, a little bit of a, I'll go,
kind sir. Send me to Germany. I think it is like, yeah, I think they do volunteer. Maybe just thinking weighing the pros and cons of you're on a plane for longer. This is why you don't see any of the West Coast teams volunteering.
Yeah.
But then also what works with the schedule. Jacksonville Jaguars, they played quite a bit last year.
2 games.
2 games. They have 2 more games this year, which, no other team has 2 games. So it's been said recently that they're trying to make the Jaguars like the international team, which I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Ew, I don't like the Jaguars, and I don't like that they get this opportunity because I love London and I love the international markets.
That's fair.
I just don't want to be going on a gorgeous trip to London. I'm going to tea, I'm going to the park, I'm walking through the streets, and I see people in Trevor Lawrence jerseys like
From
get lost.
Jacksonville?
No, from London in Jaguars jerseys. I'm mad. Take it off.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess in the sense of what you're saying is, would the Jacksonville Jaguars be a good representation of America in NFL internationally? I don't know if I would go for them first, but
Well, the Jaguars first half of the season, they were like, they lost like 8 games at the end of the season. They looked like the best team in the NFL in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken.
no, their record was a lot better at the
Yeah, they were
first
like
half.
10-2, and then they lost like the rest of their games. But
I think there was a little bit of injury from Mr. Lawrence.
yeah, something happened. But
What I'm not mad about is, so one of the games that the Jaguars are playing is against the Bears in London, and I could see Caleb Williams being such a good ambassador to
cutie.
Europe. Like, I feel
love
like
that.
he's such a sweetie pie. He's so charismatic. He's so sweet. He's so fun. I don't know how like the English people, like I feel like they're like very fun and humorous. Like I think they would like his vibe.
Yeah.
Bears is our new international team. I would like to volunteer them.
Yeah, I love that. I co-sign.
Thank you. And I want to see like Caleb Williams like high tea content. Like get him to sketch London.
Oh yeah, that would be really good content. But all that to say, schedule is out. We're excited about it.
We're pumped.
And this team, last thing I'll say about this, that team that works on it, they work for months. They
Yeah.
have multiple iterations. I believe they send like a final draft to Roger Goodell on Monday. He signs off or asks for iterations, but they need to send the notifications to the teams by Tuesday saying what the schedule is. And then the world knows on Wednesday.
I know it's really fast in
It's
that last
fast.
week. And yeah, of what I've read about it or heard about it is that they start working as soon as the Super Bowl ends. They work right up until the very end when they have to submit the final to Roger Goodell. And just given how many variances of the schedule there could be, they could work for years on developing the perfect NFL schedule where everyone's happy, but you can't make everyone happy, and they did the best they could, and there are a lot of really good matchups that I think we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
What games are we going to this year?
Oh gosh. Well, you're jumping ahead, so just pump the brakes for
it's
a
on the
minute.
schedule. My bad. It's on the schedule.
Babe.
Okay. I didn't get my agenda prior to the
Sorry,
meeting.
I was
It's all
going to tell you
good.
about it, and then
There is a Bengals
just-
game locally that will hint out that
Absolutely.
we got our eyes on.
Yeah, we do. We do. Okay, well, should we get into, is there anything else on schedule?
No, I think that's it. I think it's a really exciting time. It's amazing how complex it is that I've just never thought about it. Computers do it now. Back in the day, a man named Val Pinchbeck used to do it by hand, and he would just eat pistachios and balance pistachio shells on his belly and just put push pins into a board and do it all by hand.
Crazy.
Which is absolutely insane. And I know the NFL now is talking about let's get AI involved. Let's, kind of crank this up a notch. So it's an extremely complex situation that, I find it so interesting.
Totally. There's so many factors, and it is just the simple fact of the process that they had before to what we have now is
yeah, it's amazing.
The amount of hours, and they still work I think that they still work over the weekends. There was a podcast and someone on the team was talking about they were working over Mother's Day Sunday.
Oh no.
And
those
so
poor
there's
boys.
Yeah. So they're still working hard, but knowing the cork board that they were working off of before, and now that they have some help of the software is thank God for that. For them, they can have some time back to their families. But obviously this is the moment that all NFL fans have been most excited about. So let's get into with that. Now that we have the schedules, who's going to be playing who at what time, what part of the season, Brooke and I put together a quick list of our top 5 biggest rivalries heading into 2024.
Yeah, super excited. So yeah, as the complexities of the schedule unfolded, we have some really exciting games. Here's some of our favorites. So starting off strong, week 1, kicking off the NFL season opener, we have an NFC wildcard rematch between the Rams and the Lions.
Woo!
So if you guys remember last season, this NFC wildcard game was super tight. It was so intense. It ended in a score of 24-23 with the Lions coming out on top and the Rams fans just absolutely devastated. So for that to be just the end of the Rams season and then facing off once again against the Lions as their season opener, it's just so intense. I am so excited for this game. I know that we live in LA, but the Lions absolutely stole my heart last season, and I will be cheering for the Lions in week 1.
Yeah, I feel like over the past 2 years, the Lions have definitely been that rising team, and they have such a good head coach and Dan Campbell. And he seems like such a character and such a macho man who's going to lead their team to victory. And every year we see progress with how they do, and even their standings after every season show that they made it pretty far. And so I think that this matchup is going to be a good one to see, especially with the Matt and the Jared of it all.
The Matthew Stafford, the Jared Goff quarterback face-off. Obviously, Jared Goff used to play for the Rams. Now he plays for the Lions. He just signed a brand new contract. And these two powerhouses are going to be facing off. And the NFL, they really cooked with this one. I hate that I said that. No, I don't like that. That was not
Should we
good.
get you a
A spatula? Cut that out of the audio.
What are you cooking?
I was just cooking up a rematch. I don't know. I want it to be over.
Okay. Well, what about the next one?
So to move on from that quickly, we also have Skipping ahead to week 7, we have the Super Bowl rematch, Chiefs versus 49ers. Let's go. It's at San Francisco, which is giving, the Niners that home field advantage. The fans are going to be showing up and showing out to this game. Everyone in the NFL is out to get the Chiefs. The Chiefs are trying to get their 3rd Super Bowl title in a row. And I think we can all collectively agree we don't want that to happen. So I think the world will be watching this game and the world will be cheering for Brock Purdy and the 49ers.
Yeah, and we're at the stage in the Chiefs dynasty, if you want to call it that, where we want to prevent a triple crown, I guess is the word.
Ew.
I know. Sorry.
I get it, but
we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to knock them off, to get them as the least amount of wins so they don't have home field advantage during the playoffs. I think they're at that level now where it's like Chiefs kingdom against the world, because very similarly to Tom Brady, like he's won so many Super Bowls, and like it was just, we almost expected it to happen. So we wanted it to not happen in any way possible. And so this game will be, it's only week 7, but hopefully at that point that can be just one more loss on their belt.
yeah, give the Chiefs a loss. 49ers, we beg of you.
Please. CMC, give us the touchdowns, please.
There's a lot of Chiefs drama right now. Have you guys heard about all this? You've got Harrison Butker. Okay.
We've heard.
We're going to talk about it. Two other players just got arrested for marijuana.
Oh, not 2.
There wasn't 2?
I thought it was just one.
No, I'm just saying figuratively.
Oh, no,
not
yeah.
2.
And then you have Rashid Rice, who's still dealing with his thing.
I was going to ask if one of the 2 arrested was Rashee Rice, but
And then
there's 2 additional ones.
And then apparently the new wide receiver, the guy from Texas, just had his car stolen in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
Xavier Worthy?
Xavier, there's like my point.
Okay, but that's not his fault that he got his car
It's not his fault, but I'm saying the Chiefs are cursed.
But the police department's phone is ringing for...
I'm just saying.
They're saying not another Chiefs player.
Hi, Xavier Worthy, a member of the Chiefs. My car was stolen.
There's a lot going on in that organization. I'm just saying it's not helping them.
Yeah.
And my bold prediction is the Chiefs start this year 0-2.
Oh,
Off to the Ravens, off to the Bengals, 2 losses in a row.
Yes.
I like
and then
that.
can
My
you
bet of the
please,
week.
can you say 0-4 because they're playing the Chargers in week 4?
I'm going to give the Chargers a year to rebuild.
Oh, no.
How dare you?
I believe in the
Jim
Chargers.
Harbaugh
Cut his
starts
mic.
immediately. Cut the mic. Cut the video.
You
It'll be
don't-
0-4.
This is the NFL. You don't just go in and dominate year 1. It's look at Sean Payton. He did okay.
Yeah.
But I think next year he'll be better.
I'm speaking for Brooke here, but I could say the same about the Bengals. We need a
I
rebuild
don't
too.
think the
Thinking the
Bengals
same
making the playoffs is a guarantee at all. I would say it's about a 50-50 shot right now, in my opinion.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm a
I think
Bengals
they
fan.
they
Rational.
released, I don't know what publication this was, but I saw like a NFL playoff percentage, like likelihood percentage today. Do you see
Yeah.
that? The Bengals were listed at like 55 or 60%. Chargers maybe around a 40-45. They haven't taken into account that we are rebuilding under Jim Harbaugh and we are going to come out strong.
Yeah. I think under his leadership, I feel positive.
I think this will
making a lot
be
of
the
changes.
Chargers will be one of the great stories that'll come out over the next 5 years. Because quite frankly, no one gives a shit about them in LA. No offense.
And
No one?
we wish.
Not no one.
Someone
figure
would
of
argue
speech.
some
Some people care,
such a big shit about that.
But I like the Chargers, and I want to care about the Chargers about 3/4 as much as I care about the Bengals, and that's my goal.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the Rams, and I like the Chargers a lot more. But you go to those games; it's away games for them, and so I think watch that over the
it
next
is away
4
games.
years, like the
That's right.
transformation.
really sad.
It'll be amazing.
I will take that, and I unfortunately can't talk shit back because I have nothing to show for it. And having gone to all of their home games last season, there are more fans from the away team than the home team. And I do think the Chargers get a lot of shit for smallest fan base
And
in
when
the NFL.
that changes, that's what's going to be amazing, right? When you go and it's like Chargers fans, and you're like, we did it. you know?
But what does the organization need to do to create more fans? And I say that
Win
with
games.
an answer.
Yeah.
Exactly. They need to
games.
make it to
Win
the
playoff
Super Bowl.
games.
But even the Rams, they won a Super Bowl. And like, I would argue to say that Rams and Chargers fans, Rams might have a little bit more, but it's
Rams
the
have
same
more.
story at SoFi where we went to a Rams game
It was
last
all
year.
Steelers fans,
It was
yeah.
all Steelers
Steelers fans roll deep, though.
I know they do, but I don't know. I feel like they're a little bit ahead. I'll give them that, the Rams, in terms of fandom.
No, and I would
But-
agree with that.
Yeah, but they're not far behind is what I'm trying to say.
Even if they are far behind, like I think that LA fandoms have it hard with both Rams and the Chargers. Obviously the Rams not originate, but they were back in LA like 20 years ago, and the Chargers have no history in LA. I feel like NFL fandoms run deep because it's like you watch it growing up. You're so tied to your home roots. So
Yeah.
people like the Steelers that grow up in Pittsburgh, like they are so attached to their team, and LA
Yeah.
is filled with a lot of transplants. Like we're not from LA, but we live here. But you know, if you have a team from, you know, your home that you've cheered for your whole childhood, of course, that's who you're going to favor.
Yeah.
So I think that being a new team to a city that, you know, a lot of people aren't even from, it's really tough to
tough.
break through. But Jim Harbaugh has a lot of fans. He has a lot of eyes on him. I do think Justin Herbert, not biased at all, is a really likable quarterback. And I do think if they win games, obviously the Rams won a Super Bowl. They did as best as you can do. And I still don't think that they're the dominant fandom of LA by any means.
Barely won a Super Bowl, and they got a lucky call in the fourth quarter right at the goal line. Just I'm going to add that in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah.
And this is against the
Period.
Bengals. Come on.
They shouldn't have won the Super Bowl that they won, which is maybe why they're cursed.
Absolutely not.
So, you know what? If more Chargers fans show up, great. I don't care either way because I've been a Chargers fan through, you know, last season was 5-12. I'm a ride or die. If you want to bandwagon off some wins, come on over. I don't care. You can if you want to. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to call you a bandwagon fan except for right then. If we're winning, be happy about it. I will be happy being in the smallest fandom of the NFL because I believe in these boys. And I feel like also with NFL fandoms, you don't choose them, they choose you. You can't say, I'm going to start rooting for this team. Like you have to be compelled by player stories, what you feel when you watch the games. Like I can't just go out tomorrow and be like, I'm going to go be a Commanders fan because like my favorite player is over there. Like you just can't. Like you have to feel it in your whole body.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like when I watch the Chargers games. I'm anxious. I'm excited. I love them. I'm obsessed. I consume all of their content more than once. And you don't decide that. It chooses you.
I
Harbaugh
agree.
living in an RV in Huntington Beach.
Absolutely.
I was sold right there. I'm like, okay, I like the Chargers. Now I'm liking them a lot more.
And
Yeah,
their
yeah,
OC lived in a RV right next to him.
They have a whole
He had
community.
a Chargers bedspread.
So cute.
So
Oh my
here's to the
gosh.
Chargers.
Here's the Chargers.
I appreciate that. I'm out of wine, but cheers to the Chargers.
We drank it all. You heard it here first, guys.
You need me to run and get you guys cocktails?
Oh,
Yes.
would love that.
They're in
Chargers Super Bowl is coming this year, if not next.
Yes. Yes. But you heard it here first. Pete's second team leaning Chargers.
That is really nice. And I have said my second team is the Bengals because of you, now because of
you.
Pete as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you haven't said your second team's the Chargers, Noelle. But
Oh God.
and I've taken note of that because
No.
I've been willing to go out
Here's
on a
the
limb
thing,
and say
I
I
have-
will adopt the Bengals.
I have two.
No, I don't.
I
wanna
have
hear-
two-
I'm
two.
not happy about this.
I love the Chargers. I really do. I also love the 49ers because a lot of their players were on my fantasy last year. CMC is one of them. Debo Samuel was one of them. So I have some allegiances in different ways. And just as you mentioned, like we like certain teams because of the players. And like we've talked about Olivia
chosen
Culpo
you.
before. Like we love her. We love CMC. So in that sense, love her. But if you could flip a coin, it's tough. I love both of them equally. And I know that's not the fairest answer, but that it is what it is.
So if this year in your fantasy league you had maybe Justin Herbert out there, would that influence your decision?
I think so, but I don't think I'd choose him.
That's so much worse than what you had just said. He is going to come alive this season.
No, but
Jim
he actually
Harbaugh.
does really good on fantasy, so I ain't gonna lie. No, the Chargers are my second.
I can literally tell you're lying, but I'll take it.
I feel like she might be a Bills fan.
I do like the Bills. No, but just because I like them doesn't mean they're like my second team. I like the Bills, but they'll never be my second team because they're AFC and they're like way too close to home. And that's also why saying that the Chargers are my second team is tough because they are also AFC. That's the only thing that's like holding me back. But in terms of likability, in terms of supporting you, that's why they're my second team. If I had to like select the players that I like more, I think I know a little bit more about the 49ers players than the Chargers players.
Bang, bang.
But collectively, bang, bang, Niner cake. Collectively, and because of the AFC versus NFC, that's why I say that. And that's why it's hard for me. I hope you understand. I love you.
It's okay. I am willing to be the bigger person in this situation. I can tell that it's, it's something that you're working through. And when the Chargers win the Super Bowl, I'll invite you to my Super Bowl party.
I would 100% support.
Thank you. We can move on to the next matchup.
Do you hate me now?
I'm like wiping away tears, but it's
No,
okay.
stop. They are my second team. They are my second team. Is that okay?
I'm not asking for them to be your first team.
No, I know, but like they really are, and I hope you know that. However, there is a little bit of an asterisk, and that's all I'm saying. How's about like I have number 2 A and B, and Chargers is A? Is that fair?
That's completely fine. I just don't know, like if in like your heart, if you believe that.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Because I love you so much, and I support you.
You love me more than CMC.
Yeah, of course. As much as I love him, like I love you more.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What?
That was just adorable. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm glad we worked through that on the podcast. Chargers 17-0 season loading.
Oh, period. And honestly, I would support that just because of my whole conversation. I'm sorry that we had to do that.
No, it's just like a funny thing where I was like super ready to pledge my allegiance to the Bengals. But it's okay. We can move on to the third most exciting game for us this season.
All right. And so coming off of Chiefs 49ers week 7, the next week we have some new rookies that we have been talking about pretty immensely on this podcast on some of our previous episodes. We have the number 1 and the number 2 overall draft pick from this 2024 NFL season. That is Caleb Williams of the the Chicago Bears. I'm reading like in order. And Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders.
Ooh.
And that's all in Washington. So we're excited about this. Obviously, these were the number 1 and number 2 overall draft pick from the draft. And this is exciting because not only do we have 2 QBs who are rookies, but we also have some pretty, I guess you can call them veterans that are on the offensive squad that will be supporting these men. We have Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen coming straight from the Chargers who are on the opposing teams.
Tell me where they're from.
Yeah. And so
Prominent players that
they are prominent players.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, if I think I know a little bit more about Caleb and all of his weapons or toys, as we like to call them, on the Bears, and he's stacked for this season. So I love to see 2 rookies head to head. Hopefully by week 8 they're getting their rhythm a little bit more. Obviously they'll have 8 games under their belts within the NFL season. So we'll see where they're at. And as we all know, so much can happen in the NFL. We can have injuries, and I'm not saying that I don't want any of that, but I'm hoping both of them will be in healthy conditions and we'll have a really solid competitive game for Week 8.
That'd be exciting. 2 Heisman winners, back-to-back years, facing off in Week 8. I'm just excited for anything Caleb Williams is doing. Jaden Daniels as well, but I think Caleb's stolen a little bit more of my heart, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So I am really excited to watch the Bears face off against the Commanders, as you mentioned. 2 Chargers legends on opposite ends of the field, facing off on that offense. So I'm going to call the Bears my second team.
I love that. Oh, no. Sorry, it hit me a little late. But that's fair, and I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
We can have second and third teams, right?
They're just like my second 2A at this point, but very excited. Can't wait for Week 8, as you mentioned. Hoping at this point everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
Not like manifesting an injury, but it's always something we have to consider. And that is like my biggest anxiety heading into any games is like, oh my God, will any of these men pop a rib out or something?
Yeah.
I don't think that's how bones work, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, I've seen bones pop out, not live, but I think it happens if it's a bad enough accident. Head-on-head collision.
CTE coming in hot.
Yeah. I mean, we saw Aaron Rodgers, his whole ACL was torn.
Bro, and they put him in primetime again for Week 1.
Yes. And 6 times after that, right? And the international game.
The Jets have so much prime time, and they're like, Aaron Rodgers, you better stay healthy. Like, lightning can't strike twice. This man is going to finish the season.
Yeah.
Thinking about him coming out, waving that American flag, like seconds away from injury, I would like to add it to the football ick list. Running with your country's flag, like, I understand, but like, it's just embarrassing. Like, he looked so proud running with a little flag. Like,
I think
what are you heading to battle?
Yeah, I think what made it worse is the fact that he got injured afterwards, because it was such a big deal, and like people were cheering in the stands, and it was a cool moment. Like, obviously it was the Week 1 of the NFL regular season, so people were stoked. They wanted to see Aaron Rodgers in the Jets uniform. So there was a lot of excitement about it, just for the whole stadium to go silent and for an injury, which is never okay and like really sad to see. But I think that's what made it even more funny.
Knowing he was seconds away from a season ending. But no, for real, like, Jets, maybe they're my third team if we're just lining them up. Like, I really, really do want them to succeed. Okay. Bengals
now you're just taking them all. Okay, fine.
Patriots, Ravens. I just love them all.
Not the Ravens.
I didn't like either of those teams. But no, I think I believe that because of the bad karma that they repaid last year, that Aaron Rodgers will be healthy and exciting to watch. And the NFL thinks the same way, because they put them in like 7 primetime games.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that game.
That wasn't even one that we had highlighted.
We did. Moving on. We did have the Jets to talk about, but moving on to Week 11, we're a little bit further down the stretch. We have another AFC divisional rematch from 2023, which is the Chiefs and the Bills in Week 11.
Which was a very close game during that AFC divisional round.
What makes it so hard, again, like we already touched on a big primetime Chiefs game. It's Chiefs dynasty against the world. And this was one of those games where down until the last few minutes, you're like, the Bills have this. And it's so exciting that we get to see some new opponents in the AFC Championship that aren't the Chiefs.
Yep.
And we were wrong. Of course, in the last few seconds, the Bills kicker misses a field goal. I don't know how many seconds were left, but it was definitely like under 30. Somehow the Chiefs were able to score, and the end result of that game was 20-17 Chiefs Bills, and it was devastating. It was devastating for the AFC division, for the conference. And what made it really hard was, not only do we see Josh Allen and how he responded to that, I saw a podcast and they were saying that he went into the locker room and just sat there for like 35 minutes just like contemplating and
questioning his whole life.
Yeah. And I mean, as the quarterback, you have all of the pressure on your shoulders. So I totally get that. But looking at the person who actually made the mistake, which was the kicker.
Oh, this is tough.
This is tough. He actually just completely deactivated. I know it was his Instagram. It might have been across all of his socials because he knew the backlash that he would get from Bills Mafia. And we understand. Bills, they still haven't won a Super Bowl. They were so close. This was a tough one to watch. So a rematch is what we're all invested in for this new season.
That was really sad when he had to deactivate his social media. But I do think there was like a counter movement. I don't remember the exact details, but people were like, hey, like the kicker deactivated his social media because he's so upset. And I do think like the personal element, like beyond just being upset about your team missing a kick that should have been made, is like, I, other than Harrison Butker, like feel so bad for the NFL kickers because it's like so much pressure. Like if you make it, people expect you to. If you don't make it, you suck and you ruined our whole game and our chances of winning the Super Bowl.
They have a lot of pressure too.
I do think that like responding to like him deleting his social media, people started like donating to maybe like, why do I want to say a cat sanctuary? Why do I think it had to do with cats? Maybe he has a cat?
Possibly. I think that sounds right. It was some charity that he like
maybe
is really passionate
rescue.
about. Tyler Bass is his name.
Oh, that's right.
Since we're not saying, the names of the opposite sex. It's Tyler Bass.
Oh yeah, donate to a cat rescue shelter.
Which is really sweet. And honestly, Bills Mafia, they, as passionate as they are, I think a lot of them are very level-headed in a sense. And they care about their community. So that doesn't surprise me one bit.
This is insane. I just Googled it. This is a CBS News article, and it says fans raise $260,000 for cat adoption charity in honor of Buffalo Bills kicker Tyler Bass missing his field goal.
I believe that.
That's beautiful.
I believe that. I mean, going back to the really scary incident with Damar Hamlin against the Bengals, there were a lot of people on the Bills side and the Bengals side that were, donating to different charities to help raise money. And it just showed the full support. So much love to the Bills fans. I do. And they have a great quarterback who we'll touch on in a little bit, but they're passionate people and we love to see it.
Maybe they're my third team.
Shut up. All right, let's take us home.
No, one more note on the chills, the Chiefs Bills game.
Yeah,
I'm unwell.
Oh yeah.
So Swifties immediately took to the internet to know that Taylor Swift is performing on the Eras Tour in Toronto, which I looked on a map is right above Buffalo, New York. I think it's the Saturday night before. Mm-hmm. So she will be in attendance at that really just serious, iconic game.
That is crazy. I mean, if you're a Bills fan and a Taylor Swift fan, man,
good times ahead.
Good times ahead for sure. So that will be week 11. Lots of fun activities then if you're up in upstate New York or Toronto.
Mark your calendars. And if you're in LA, week 12, we got something exciting for you. We got the Harbaugh Bowl, the Har Bowl, as some would call it. So this is the Chargers versus the Ravens. It's Jim Harbaugh, his first season coaching the Los Angeles Chargers, facing off against his brother, John Harbaugh, who has been the coach of the Ravens since 2008. So it is going to be such a fun game. I think since the moment that Jim Harbaugh signed on as the head coach of the Chargers, people are already talking about this AFC matchup, and it is going to be on Monday Night Football. So we're going to have that primetime spot. It's happening in LA. So I'll be there if anyone else wants to join and cheer on the Chargers and not make it an away game and everyone cheering for the Ravens. But I'm super excited. I think, it's not super often that we see two brothers go off against each other, AFC rivalry game. And I'm super stoked for this. I think it's so cute.
I am too. And imagine a world living and growing up in a family where your brother is just as successful as you are in the NFL, and they're you're playing the same, or you're doing the same, the same job, head coach.
Imagine being the parents that raised 2 NFL head coaches.
Proud.
How do I do that? If I have boys, they better be gay or they better be NFL head coaches. That's all I'm saying.
Or NFL players.
I mean, we've talked. I don't have the genes for NFL players. Maybe I have the genes for a coach.
You never know. I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, the Chargers are my number 2 team.
Allegedly.
Pause for laughs. They're my number 2 team, and we know the Ravens very well. The Bengals play them twice a year. They are a really tough team to beat. For whatever reason, Joe Burrow and the Bengals never do good against the Ravens. And I would argue and say against the AFC North in general, at least if you're looking at last year and maybe even the year before, I think collectively as a season they do well, but AFC North is just one of those divisions where it is tough. They are so physical, and the Ravens is really at the forefront of that division. Obviously, they were number 1 and they finished the regular season in that number 1 spot for the AFC North. So this is going to be a very fun matchup. And, I'm going to root for the Chargers for this one. 100%. In case that means anything to you.
Really hard choice against your division rival, but thank you.
Yeah, I spent some time contemplating on that.
Absolutely. And then speaking of Noelle and I being complete rivals, we also have number 6, an honorable mention game, which is going to be Chargers versus Bengals in LA.
At SoFi Stadium, I mean, what could be better?
No, it's going to test us. I'm proactively nervous about, we shouldn't watch this game together because it's going to get too ugly.
No, but we're going to go in the box, remember?
We're going to go in the box.
Shh. Don't tell our boss, but
we're going to get there.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to, I love the Bengals and I obviously want them to win just as much as you want the Chargers to win.
That's okay.
But knowing how passionate you are as a Chargers fan, it's going to suck. But at the end of the day, it's just football. And we love it. And we have a whole podcast about it. And I say it's just football. I know how both you and I are during football games, and we get nervous. I start sweating. It's almost like we're on the field and we care so much about it, but also it's going to be a battle, but if there's anyone that I want to win, it's the Chargers.
Shut up.
If it's not the Bengals, am I right?
This is your second team choice for that game specifically. Yeah. If there was any game that I appreciate you rooting against the Chargers, obviously it's this one. We're both so passionate about our teams. That's why I want to watch together in the box, but at opposite ends because it's going to be so intense. It's going to be so crazy. This game is happening. Did we decide week 11?
12.
Okay. So end of not end, but mid to end of the actual season, I think we'll have a good idea in terms of maybe how the playoffs are looking.
Yeah.
How the season's been going so far. Any injuries, not from the Chargers, not from Joe Burrow. I'll add that to my whisper manifestation.
Oh, please.
So I think we'll be strong. I'll be mature.
Yeah.
I won't say anything bad about it. I hope that Joe Burrow has a great game.
And I hope not only Justin Herbert, but the whole Chargers have a great game.
And not only Joe Burrow, but Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And the rest of them can suck it. Just kidding.
All right. Well, that's our top 5 games for the NFL 2024 season. I know that we talked a little bit about the schedule releases and how creative some of the teams got. So I know that we're kind of short on time right now, so we should get into it. Why don't we both choose maybe 1 or 2 teams that we thought did a really good job, and we can go from there.
Mine's easy because as much as, I'm talking about being a Chargers fan this whole podcast, it is actually very hard being a Chargers fan because they are not very good. And I don't think they've won a Super Bowl ever. And one thing that they excel at is their social media department is
Give them a
second to
raise.
none. They are in a dynasty of their own. They are so funny. They have been the schedule release video champions for years in a row. The last 2 years, they did 2 schedule releases that were in full anime. So they're like full like animation department is just like absolutely insane. This year, they did a social media release of their schedule that was all Sims themed, as in the game Sims that you guys used to play as children. I used to love playing Sims. It was so much fun. And they are going viral for this, which I'm so excited because I've always been such a big fan of their social media department. I think they deserve all the praises. What I like about their social media strategy is that it's so easy to be funny if you're leaning into viral trends, viral people and influencers, and really leaning into these cultural moments. And like, that's how I make my jokes. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but like, they are so funny without having to lean into anything else. It's just completely creative and coming from their own minds of like, Sims hasn't really like been on our radar in any big way in years. And so I just think it's absolutely just like so remarkable and so brilliant that they're able to come up with something so unique and so funny. So if you don't mind, I'll go through some key references they made in the video.
Go for it.
So not only did they transform every single one of their opponents into Sims players, they went through their entire schedule and had kind of funny Easter eggs and references for each of the teams. Obviously, I won't go through all of them, but they started off with their season opener against the Raiders. They're showing, you know, how you would dress up your Sims and design it with hair and outfits. They put clown makeup and a clown wig on the Raiders because they're clowns. Fuck you, Raiders. And they just make that so funny. Skipping ahead when they're playing the Chiefs in week 4, they show Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey on their podcast and talking about squirrels, referencing, of course, Travis Kelsey's squirrel tweets from years and years ago. And then they show Taylor Swift showing up and Travis leaving in her private jet. Some like references A1. They also show the Falcons. They cut to Atlanta where Kirko Chains and, you know, is shirtless, his chain is DJing at a club. And then they show outside of the club, Michael Penix Jr. cutting the entire line to come into the club. And then Kirk just completely like fumbling the mic and being so nervous and so upset. And so I loved that read as well. They also showed Gronk and Julian Edelman in a retirement home in Foxborough for the Patriots game announcement. And then finally for their Raiders second game, this was their best work, I think, is they showed the Raiders, you know, watching a game and they had them talking, and in their little speech bubble was a QR code. If you were, as you know, snoopy enough to like scan this QR code, it would take you to an application for clown college, which I thought was so funny. And then when you zoom out, all of the Raiders fans are in a jail cell, which is name plated with Tom Telesco, who was the GM of the Chargers, who we all hate and he sucked, is now the GM of the Raiders. So it's like, good luck. You're locked up by Tom Telesco. And then of course, what is going most viral in the very ending credits, the Chargers have put Harrison Butker, kicker of the Chiefs and commencement speech giver of Benedictine College, as a homemaker in the kitchen, and he's making a pie and he's arranging flowers and he's scrubbing the counter, and it is just so funny. They are so quick with how fast they produced that and how much they just leaned into that, you know, big news headline immediately. That was so fucking funny.
Yeah,
I love them. I'm so proud to be a Chargers fan right now. Not always in the games, but social media. Yes.
Thank you for the rundown. I watched some of it, and I think like the highlight of the Chargers schedule release was the Harrison Butker in the kitchen, and that's what everybody's seeing right now. But just as you mentioned, like I love that they played into something so creative. Like I never would have thought of that crossover with like The Sims and NFL schedule release. Like
how?
Doesn't make sense, but I maybe in their minds they're thinking like, we can't have players actually like playing this out. So maybe we'll just create characters of our own. And how could we do that via Sims?
So smart.
Which is, it's so genius. And I think that they were definitely the winners of the schedule release for sure. As
Some
my
would
second
say
team.
it was your first team in the schedule release department.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, just to give a little bit, I don't even want to like talk about any of the other ones because I feel like the Chargers one was so good. But I did see like a compilation video of some of the other teams, and it did seem like there were a few top like reoccurring themes. Like the Chargers, they did The Sims, but the Rams, they had this also centered around like a game theme, but it was like GTA, like Grand Theft Auto. And they released their schedule with like a car going into an auto body shop and them like customizing the car just as you do in GTA. I used to love playing GTA when I was younger. So I feel like it kind of aligns with like the LA aesthetic and a little bit leaning into that. But also the Jags did like a superhero video of announcing their schedule with different, like the Ravens would have like a made up like animated character of their team. And I think there was another one. Let's see, there was the Jags, Rams, maybe that was it. But there was a theme around like gaming, which I thought was really interesting. Obviously the Chargers did it best. And then there were some like behind the scenes ones that were kind of funny where, you know, the John Harbaugh on the Ravens would be interviewing people, and like the Bears kind of had like a high school theme, and I don't know if it was the GM, but someone on the staff was like kind of speaking to a narrative. So I feel like there was a narrative around kind of like a behind the scenes look. A little bit of like kids were involved too. The Bengals did something that was a little bit, I don't know if it was my favorite, but I saw a few of those kind of like throughout all of the teams and their scheduled releases. So Chargers definitely won on that one, but love to see the creativity in the NFL.
It's always so fun. I love to see like the social media teams get their chance in the spotlight, but the Chargers might not win the Super Bowl this year, but they
will.
won. Thank you. The schedule release week.
They did.
We love that.
They sure did.
And I feel like that wraps us up for the schedule release episode. So much fun. So excited. We are now officially counting down until week 1 of the NFL. We are so excited. And yeah, we love talking about this.
Yeah. We'll be counting down the days, and hopefully you guys will be with us until week 1.
Yay. See you guys then. No, before that, listen to our episodes all summer long.
Oh, of course.
Please don't miss an episode. That would be stupid.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.